There are places in the world where chaos is expected. War zones, bad street corners, underground circuits where the rules are optional and survival depends on instinct. But sometimes the most unexpected battlegrounds hide in plain sight. Sometimes the softest targets are wrapped in sunshine, palm trees, and the illusion of family fun. Aquatica Orlando, a water park built on color, noise, and constant motion. A place designed to distract you, and that's exactly why it became something else. A living experiment in human behavior. A pressure cooker of heat, crowds, exhaustion, and confusion. A place where the smallest cracks in the system open the door to something bigger. Because when a system slips, even a little, people notice. And when people notice, opportunity follows. In this series, we're pulling apart the layers of that opportunity. The operational failures, the psychological fog, the scams that didn't need force or hacking, just timing, the drink machines that broke more than they dispensed, the wasps swarming like they paid admission, and the guests caught in the middle, trying to stay calm while the environment around them quietly unraveled. This isn't just a story about a water park. It's a story about what happens when order collapses in the most ordinary of places and how fast human nature fills the void. Episode 1 begins at the surface. The broken machines, the stolen drinks, the locker scam that set the tone. But beneath all of that is the real story. How a place built for relaxation became a case study in distraction, deception, and the psychology of opportunity. Welcome to the Aquatica Files. This is where the cracks start to show. This is the Mind War Podcast.
All right, welcome back, everybody. As always, I'm Badger. This is Grandmaster, and we're starting a new series, as you heard in the opening, and it's going to be a wild one. So for this first episode, Grandmaster, it's all you, brother.
All right, so we'll get right to it. Badger, we've been to, or we've know people that have been to, or people that are listening to us have been to places where chaos breeds opportunity, like a war zone, maybe inner city street corner, a bad street corner,
right?
Underground fight circuits, I don't know, some bad part of the country or some country that you just don't go to. Right, because bad things happen.
Absolutely.
But there's one place that I never, ever, ever would have thought that I could add to that list, and it's Aquatica of Orlando.
The theme park.
The theme park that's joined, I think, Busch Gardens and SeaWorld.
SeaWorld, right.
Yeah, I can add that to the list.
And yet, here we are. A water park turning into a case study on how fast a system collapses when nobody's paying attention. You've got broken drink machines, malfunctioning RFID cups, crowds swarming like piranhas, and thieves running social engineering scams like it's a training ground.
So, elaborate a little bit on your broken machines. Let them know what's going on.
Okay. So.
And then I'll get to the thievery.
Okay. So, when you go to Aquatica, they offer refillable cups that you can pay for once. You can fill them up throughout the day as many times as you want. Not really, because you can only fill it up every 15 minutes. But what happens is you've got this little code that you scan. When you scan it, it turns the machine on, you fill your drink. Here's the issue. If that machine happens to be out of the syrup or ice, once you scan and you push that button, it automatically activates your scan. So if it's bad and you go, oh no, that's bad, and you dump it out, you can't scan again for another 15 minutes. So you don't even get your full drink. We went numerous times. Never once did I completely fill a drink.
Okay. But there's also scammers in there.
Oh, are there?
Okay, so now I'm going to read this little blurb here that I pulled out of the air. People think crime requires sophistication. No, that's not true. Not always true. Some crime requires distraction. And in Aquatica, there is a bunch of distractions. It's like a distraction factory. You have heat. You have the crowd.
Yep.
You have the noise, just everything going on. You have water. You have the kids screaming and having fun or tired and exhausted. You have the parents in the same boat, tired and exhausted, right? It's the psychological fog. Because what happens is you hit your little RFID little scanner on your cup, on this little red box, and by the time you get eyes, some jerk off is coming up behind you, hitting buttons and taking your drink. Now, at first, you don't realize that that's a problem. Well, when I bought lunch for me and the kids, that was a problem because I didn't realize that once they did it, and the one guy goes, man, hey, when I figured it out, I go, yo, this is mine. He goes, what are you going to do? Well, there's nothing you can do because if you do something, you are going to get kicked out. Well, we went to a couple staff members, and they were saying to me, well, there's nothing we can do. So this is like the perfect place to commit a crime.
Right.
Now, the crime is them stealing your sodas. But that's it. Because I can remember back in the day, you would spend a certain amount, and you just take your cup. And their concern was, I give my cup to you, I give it to somebody else, and they're losing money. You're losing money now.
Right.
You're losing money. I'm paying for it. Well, the rest of these crowd with these little Dixie cups are running up there getting their drink and taking off while you're getting ice.
Right. So Aquatica's not losing money now. We are as the
We
consumers.
are as the consumer. And I go to Aquatica all the time. And this is the first time that it's happened like this. This is the first time that I've experienced the cup situation.
Right.
And I'm like, when I watched this clown, but it wasn't us. It was just us. It was a bunch of people that's happening to.
Right.
And nobody was available to say, stop. Or go to the person, like I tried, can I get a rescan? Because they just stole my drinks. I'm sorry, sir, we can't do that.
Nothing we can do. You need to wait 15 minutes. But let me add another issue before we even start with the drink issue. You talked about it's the perfect psychological fog. That fog is exactly what made the locker scam possible. In April of 2026, 2 suspects walk in, rent a locker, and then offer to share it with the guest. No force, no hacking, just confidence and timing. The guest leaves, they come back, empty the locker, and walk out with a Coach purse, a military ID, debit cards, keys, the whole haul.
Well, okay, on that end, it also there's huge signs everywhere in Aquatica. We're not responsible for lost or stolen items. Okay, the idiot that did the locker scam, okay, that right? I can see that one. They have no... Aquatica can't be held accountable. But I'll be damned if you're not going to be held accountable for the stealing of sodas. For when you got your cup that's marked, you did a little box thing. So imagine this, folks. You can see right in front of me would be the soda machine. The Coke, the Sprite, the whatever it is. Right next to it's a little red box. And you put your cup to it, which has a taped on RFID that was given to you by the host, which you paid for. You do that. By the time you turn, these these thugs are running up and they're getting their drinks and running off, and you're like, you don't think nothing, and then you go to get your drink, and it only gives you so much because you're only getting so much from that RFID. And then when you go to try to hit it again, it says you have to wait 15 minutes. I did that 5 times, and never did I ever get to fill it full because all these people would just come out of the woodwork just getting drinks. And that is something that's the responsibility of Aquatica. The locker situation, that's a scam. That's a pretty clever scam, right? But shame on the person for falling for that. Now, when you want to drink all day long, you're trying to save money. Wow, you just were taken to the cleaners.
Absolutely.
So these little scumbags that are running around, and they're not all just kids. These are adults doing it too. That's the worst part.
Yeah.
With kids with them.
Yeah.
So go back to that locker thing. So what happens with the locker? We'll go back to that. It's social engineering, right? You try to become friends with somebody in line and say, hey, we're from the same area, man. We can hook you up. We'll share the thing. Blah 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 blah. Then they trust you. You trust them, and then that's all you need is a criminal.
That's it.
And you're in the door. That's insane. And they didn't catch him?
No. The park didn't catch him because the system wasn't built to handle deception.
Yeah.
It was built to handle honest people. That's the flaw. Every security system fails the moment it meets someone who doesn't play by the rules.
Yeah. Well, the locker room scam is a headline, and I get that, and they're going to talk about that one because that's something that they can tangibly take off their shoulders.
Right.
So we have signs everywhere, Badger, that says don't leave your property unattended. They're not responsible. Blah 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 blah. But the one that nobody's talking about except us is a drink dispenser problem. You've got hornets and wasps and bees flying around, plus the criminals coming up and getting your drink. To me, that's a deeper failure.
In a major
Because it
way.
falls back on Aquatica.
Yes.
They're responsible for it. How many times we go around and there's no ice? Do you not have people that's bringing ice out?
By 2 o'clock in the afternoon, out of all of the different drink stations we went to, I found one that had ice, and I got about 3 cubes of ice. That was all that was left.
And then there was some times where this is where people make mistakes too, because when I called the SeaWorld and talked to them, or when I was talking to I don't know what to call them, their personnel that worked there, they weren't guest services, but whatever they call their employees. Well, did you leave your cup for them to steal it? No, I did not leave my cup. I have my cup in my hand. It's a cup I've had for probably 5 years. We keep all the cups. We bought them years ago when it was just $1 or something to refill.
And the system, Aquatica created this issue.
They did.
It's a perfect plan. There's just no security in
place.
place
Yeah.
to follow the plan because in their mind, everybody's honest.
Yeah, come on.
Everybody's going to buy a cup, and everybody's going to get their own drinks.
They're going to say, well, we went there one time, the syrup was gone, there was no ice, there was people lined up trying to get it, and then people started walking away leaving their cups, and I'm thinking, what's wrong with you? Don't leave your stuff, but that's not my problem.
Well, and then on top of it, then you add the wasps.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't even touched on this, but when you walk up to the drink machines, because there is so much liquid sugar, soda water, heat, all the elements you need.
Agitation from getting stolen from.
There's massive amounts of wasps around the entire drink machines.
Well, there's one lady.
So you put your hand in to get ice, and there's literally wasps all around you.
Well, one lady, she tried to count. She counted like 29 or something.
It was crazy. What about the cup that I brought back?
Oh, your cup had dead wasp floating in it.
I filled his cup this much full out of this much of a cup. His ran out. I fill mine this much. I'm walking back. I look down in mine. There's 8 or 10 floating wasps in there. If that would have been a young kid,
did know anybody get the stab, poked in the throat by
the stingers.
The stinger. But here's what gets me: when you see the panic and people run and drop their cups, inevitably you've seen some scumbag run over there and pick their cup up and walk off. We saw it all day.
Yep.
And you're like, and like I said, I told somebody, and they're like, "Sir, we can't prove it." I'm like, "Do you have cameras at Aquatica?"
I don't.
They have to.
Somewhere.
You've got to be able to see this tragedy happening, but they want to walk around like this because it's not really hitting the news.
Right.
That's the problem. No one wants to talk about that. They don't want to talk about that, but I think that's part of it's a psychological warfare that we're losing as a consumer that's honest.
Yes.
That's the problem we're having. So I think it's a psychology of opportunity. So let me break down the psychology. Theft in environments like this isn't premeditated. It really isn't. It's opportunistic. And we saw that by watching people. They were just waiting for their opportunity. You see an unattended item. You see nobody watching. You see a crowd. Your brain says no one will notice. I saw a crowd of people trying to... And a dude walks up. A guy hits the red thing. A dude walked between the crowd and started hitting the soda and then walked right off.
Right.
And there's nobody... So you're afraid to say something because if you stand up for yourself... You're the one who's going to get kicked out of the park. And that in itself is another problem. because no one will notice except you acting a fool.
Right. And Aquatica's full of those micro moments. Shoes left by chairs, towels draped over railings or chairs, phones tucked under shirts, cups sitting on counters. People think they're safe because they're in a theme park, but that's the illusion.
Well, the illusion is the most dangerous thing in any environment. It makes you relax. It makes you predictable, and predictable people are easy targets.
And the park's operational failures amplify that illusion. When the staff is overwhelmed, when machines are broken, when lines are long, guests assume the chaos is normal. They don't realize it's a shield for criminals.
What's a transition? It's a systemic failure. We've heard that many a times. Systemic failure, right? Mm-hmm. Well, this is just not about drinks. It's not about the locker and those poor guests that got messed over. It's about a system losing control of the small things.
And when you lose the small things, the big things follow. That's the rule. Always has been.
Well, Aquatica's issues aren't isolated. They're symptoms. Broken machines, overcrowded stations, understaffed areas, security stretched thin. These are the cracks that criminals slip through. Now, if you're, and really some of their staff, that this water safety team or whatever, they're walking around like they're super cops or whatever they are. But when you ask one of them about it, they're like, I'm sorry, we're not here for that. We're lifeguards. We're here to watch people. Well, why don't you get on your stupid walkie-talkie and call someone that was going to help me?
Right.
Because when you go to that poor person that's working at the cash register, I believe them when they say there's nothing I can do. But the water safety team of 25 walking around, and we witnessed them treating employees, other lifeguards, kind of like crap, and you watch them and you walk up to them, they're all high and mighty when it comes to their employees. When you ask them a question, so that's out of my realm out of your realm, call somebody that is in their realm. This is a serious situation.
Right. And the guests feel it. They might not articulate it, but they feel it. The frustration, the confusion, the sense that nobody's running the show. And when people feel that, they start bending the rules themselves.
Well, because the criminals slip through all cracks. Let's get that straight. Because humans mirror their environment. If the environment is chaotic, then they become chaotic. If the environment is lawless, they become lawless. It's just the way it works.
That's right. So episode 1 is simple. Aquatica did not become a soft target because criminals got smarter. It became a soft target because the park got sloppier.
Exactly. And in episode 2, we're going to go deeper because the drink machines and the locker room scam are just the surface. The real story is what's happening underneath. The operational failures, the guest behavior shifts, and the psychological patterns that turn a water park into a case study in human nature. And let me give you an example. I walked in there, I had passes. We've had our passes on our phones. I've had passes for over 16, 17, almost 20 years, let's say, right?
Right.
I walked the same passes. I go in there and this kid that's working at the gate says that my pass is a
voucher.
It's the same pass I used not too long ago. You're telling me it's a voucher? So you're going to step out and go to guest services. Luckily, it wasn't so bad at the time. The kids went through, you went through, and all that. I walked over to them, and the people at guest services go, your card's totally valid. It's not a voucher. I have no idea what they're talking about. So they gave me a paper card, and I go, can I go in right there now? They go, no, you have to go back and get in line. I got to go back and get in line because they made a mistake? This is such a hypocrisy, man. So it goes bigger and better, like you said in your last statement. This gets bigger and bigger. It's not just, and sloppier and sloppier.
That's it.
So I think what's going to happen in this part 2 is the operational failures, the guest behavior shifts, but my favorite part is the psychological patterns that turn a water park into a case study in human nature. That's a little sketch.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Aquatica Files. This is just the beginning. As always, I'm Badger.
This is Tim Bears. Remember to always be kind. And listen, that was really rough for me yesterday when you're stealing sodas from me and from my kids and from my brother, right? And then from other people, innocent people out there. I stayed kind, but it took a lot. But just remember to stay kind. You get more from that. Don't add to the madness and get yourself into trouble, because that's what they want. Then they become the victims, even though they stole from you. Always remember that.
Have a great day, folks.